The Lane Kiffin Rebels. It should be a treat. Is it going to be better than 4-8? Let's start talking Rebel football with Jake Evans. You can catch him on the Rebel Walk. Jake, how you doing today?
Mark, I'm fantastic as usual. How about you?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you stopping by. Lane Kiffin obviously gets going in the SEC Western Division. Should be an interesting storyline for the college football season across the nation. He's the headliner. Before we dive into some of the personnel and what we expect to see starting in just a couple weeks with spring practice, starting with that opening press conference and him being introduced to the media and to the fans up until whatever appearances he's made around town and again at the podium. Just your thoughts about him taking over the program and what's been the feel or the vibe or the message that he's tried to portray.
Well, so, as everybody probably saw when he landed in Oxford, he had a crowd of 1,000 plus waiting for him on the tarmac. He joked saying that was a lot better than his last tarmac experience when he was canned from Alabama there. And there was a ton of excitement, a ton of hype. Ole Miss social media claiming that they won the recruiting or the coaching season with everything that they had out there. So it was a lot of really good excitement early on, kind of rejuvenated the fan base a little bit, which was really, really what we needed more than anything. But since then, honestly, it's been kind of a 180. He keeps a very tight lid on the program, kind of what gets leaked out to the public before we have these public practices and things like that. And one of the things that he really, really stresses that he didn't do as much early in his career that I think he's learned from is that he wants to be the one voice that comes out of the program. He doesn't want, one of the things that we've heard is that we're not going to be hearing from assistant coaches during the week come, football season. We're going to be hearing from Lane Kiffin and Lane Kiffin only. He wants to control the message. He wants people to know that, he's the one running the ship and he's calling all the shots.
Okay, well, the one shot he's going to have to call sometime before game one is going to be who his starting quarterback is. Of course, Matt Corral got off to a decent start with 6 touchdowns and 3 picks, was banged up, and then John Reese Plumlee forced into action. So does he give any indication as to this being just straight out wide open competition, or is he leaning in a direction?
From what we think we know, it seems like it's a pretty open competition right now. At the moment, John Rice Plumlee actually and Jerry Neely, our starting running back from last year, are both playing baseball at the moment. So neither one of them are actually with the football team at all. And, with the way Ole Miss baseball is playing right now, they might not be with them until June, basically. So we're not sure how much we might even see them in spring football. But as of now, the big question is not necessarily who's winning that battle. It's more of just which direction Lane Kiffin thinks he wants to go, because Matt Corral's got a much stronger arm. He fits more into a pro-style offense. He can run, but he fits more into a pro-style offense versus John Rice is the exact opposite. He's a run and gun type of guy. He doesn't have the strongest arm, and that was documented last year. And so the biggest question right now is really just going to be, does Lane Kiffin want to do a run and gun type offense like we saw last year, or does he want to turn it over to Corral and just have Plumlee as maybe a guy who just get him the ball in space type of player? So right now we're really not waiting to hear about the quarterback battle as much as we are just waiting to hear what type of direction does he want to go with the offense.
Yeah, Plumlee ran for 12 touchdowns last year. When you look at the rest of the personnel on offense, who are you excited to see that maybe you haven't seen much of, and who needs to be replaced?
Well, so when we're looking at it here, Ole Miss didn't graduate a ton of talent on the offensive side of the ball. There was a few people that graduated, but it really wasn't any major contributors like it was a year ago when, the Rebs saw A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Jordan Ta'amu, guys like that leave the program. So really and truly, and that was one of the things that we were really optimistic about, leaving this year and going into next year, is that this was a lot of young talent. I think, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was somewhere up in the high 80% where, well over the majority of Ole Miss's offense was coming from underclassmen and coming from freshmen. So coming back this year, looking into 2020, we're really not going to see a lot of different personnel on the offensive side of the ball. But like I said earlier, it's really just kind of, is it going to be the same type of offense, or are we going to see the same people in kind of a different scheme? So really and truly, we're looking at the same people coming back, which is a big plus that we're really excited about.
Yeah. So when Lane Kiffin known for scheming and offense and finding those mismatches and those favorable matchups out there. I'm sure he's been asked by the media a number of times since he's taken over in regards to what can be expected about the offense from the offense in regards to wrinkles, or has he let on too much in regards to how much it's going to change?
Honestly, he really hasn't. Basically, what we're going off of at this point is what he's done at the past when he's been calling plays, like when he was at Alabama. So we're imagining that we're going to lean more towards a pro style offense than we did last year, where it was more of a run and gun type deal. Because like we said, John Rice Plumlee, not the best arm in the world, but the kid can fly. And so last year it was more of just a, how can we use his legs to create mismatches around the field? So I think if I had to guess, I would say we would see more of a pro style offense this year with more of Matt Corral taking the snaps and more of John Rice Plumlee as kind of the, get the ball in his hands type of guy and just, let him run and let him make plays.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Rebels. We bring on Jake Evans from the Rebel Walk to do it for us and help us talk some Ole Miss football with Lane Kiffin on the scene. When we look at the defense, Benito Jones moves on to the next level, takes his shot there after 10 tackles for loss and 3.5 sacks. How does the rest of the group line up?
So that's one of the things that, Josiah Coatney, Kadir Shepard, guys like that who have been major contributors for multiple years on the defensive side of the ball. Those are big holes to fill, and there's no secret there. But the thing that we are really excited about is that there's some good production. We think we're going to have some good production coming out of some guys. For example, one of them being Damon Clowney, the cousin of Jadeveon Clowney. Everybody is through the roof excited about him. He's a highly touted 4-star guy. And he looks like he'll be, seeing significant time this year at defensive end. Other than that, Dalen Gill, he's a guy, he's a linebacker, signed with Ole Miss 2 years ago, then had to go the JUCO route, and then actually came here last year. Excuse me, that was Jamar Richardson. Jamar Richardson went JUCO, came back to Ole Miss, had academic problems, and so he's a junior in eligibility, but that's a guy that we think, will really be helping us out in the secondary this year. Another guy, Ladarius Cox and Ryder Anderson. Ryder Anderson, big, tall guy, 6'7". He looks the SEC part. He looks the part, and last year he only played a few games because he went down with a knee injury against Alabama. But seeing him around the facility, all the reports are that he's ready to go 100% when spring ball starts. So that's a big guy on the defensive line. And then another one, Ladarius Cox. He's a redshirt freshman, 6'5", 300 pounds. I think he played in his 4 games last year and then ended up redshirting. So he's another big guy that they're really excited about, and they're really looking towards to kind of be just a wall, just a plug on that defensive line there. And like I said, those are Ryder Anderson and Ladarius Cox, both 2 guys that 100% look the SEC part.
So when Lane Kiffin talks about this team and some of his goals, not necessarily long-term, but just looking at 2020, has he made any kind of, I guess he's not made any promises, but in regards to trying to just shape where this thing's headed and what he would like to see out of this team, whether that be just tangible wins and losses or some type of improvement, does he give us any indication as to what he expects?
Yeah, he hasn't been terribly specific in the form of, we want to win 3 more games than we did last year, or whoever. It's more of just that, he likes the team we have. He likes the culture we have here, and he is really, really happy to be back in the SEC, and he's made that very clear. One of the things that he's said over and over again is he said, we're not here to be good, we're here to be great, and we're not going to try and take 5 years to do it. We're going to hit the ground running, and we want to be competing in the SEC West as early as this year is what he's indicated. Whether or not that's possible, that we're just going to have to see. But he's a heck of a recruiter. He's a heck of a coach, and people love playing for him. And so, I think a realistic goal for Ole Miss really turning this around is probably in year 2 for him, to really see some legitimate competition in the SEC West. It's no secret that he's got a bone to pick with Nick Saban and Alabama. Like I said, after being fired on the tarmac there. So, that's one thing. There's been a lot of college football analysts. Paul Feinbaum was the first to say it. He called Ole Miss beating Alabama right after we hired him. I mean, he just thinks that Lane Kiffin will come at him with a different animal, different type of vengeance. And so, I think a good goal for year 1 will be to knock off one of those kind of blue blood SEC programs, your maybe an LSU, maybe an Alabama, something like that, to kind of use as a stepping stone into recruiting, and then, into year 2 where we're hopefully competing for real in the SEC West.
Yeah. Well, that tarmac situation, of course, transpired over at USC, but I don't think that Lane Kiffin is actually going to be stepping on the field against Alabama. So I don't know that he's going to have a whole lot of control
right
for what happens in that game in regards to there's just a talent disparity right there that's going to have to be dealt with, and I can appreciate the fire and the vigor and everything that goes into getting yourself hyped for that kind of game. But as we saw a couple years ago when they hit the Tide for that 75 or 80-yard touchdown out of the gate, and then it turned into like the
game was not very good.
Yeah, from there, and it was a one-play deal, and that just got Alabama mad. So
right.
I certainly expect an upgrade and good things for Ole Miss football under Lane Kiffin, because everywhere he's gone, certainly there have been issues at some point other than this FAU stint, but he's turned around programs, and the last stop obviously at FAU did some really good things there and upgraded recruiting significantly this past cycle over what Ole Miss had done there the past few years once Hugh Freeze was kind of found out.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things too, is that, like you said a minute ago with the talent gap, Ole Miss is kind of playing from behind a little bit, because we it's no secret we didn't have the best roster in the world last year. Like I said, we had a lot of young guys. It was somewhere in 85% of our offense came from freshmen or sophomores. So that's why we really think that year 2 or maybe year 3 is the realistic goal to actually compete in the SEC West. We're hoping to see some flashes of it this year with maybe some guys that contributed last year or maybe some new guys this year. So we're kind of looking for a stepping stone type of year to, like I said, carry momentum into recruiting to where, he can sit down in the living room with the kid and say, hey, we're heading in the right direction. And it's obvious. This isn't me blowing smoke. You can see what we did against this team. You can see what we did against that team. Next year, the year after that, that's when we're really going to kick it into high gear.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please subscribe right here if you love the game that we love, and check out our videos each and every day across the board. The Rebel Walk is where you can catch Jake and the rest of the staff there covering Ole Miss athletics. Jake, we appreciate you stopping by, man.
Mark, thank you much for having me.